Book haul is part three of my trilogy on crime-related videos this evening. That wasn't really planned; it just happened. I've been reading newspapers, and it just felt like these are important things to discuss. So this one, well, the first two, if you haven't watched them yet, the first one was my take on rehabilitation. Basically, I think it has a place in the justice system, but it has to come with strong caveats. The second one was on the issue of repeat offenders, that is, those who have committed offence after offence after offence and show no remorse, yet continue to get the same sentences, which makes no sense. The third one is specifically about attacks on retail workers in shops. This has been apparently an increasing problem. You'll often hear conflicting things on crime statistics, and it depends on what source is used. But one of them is that overall crime is down. However, certain kinds of crime go up. And one such crime is theft, basically, from shops. Now, this may seem like a trivial crime, but particularly for small businesses, it adds up. And I think it's kind of like the broken window policy that was used in New York City in the 90s. This idea that if you permit so-called small crime, then it elevates to bigger stuff. It creates a sort of enabled environment whereby criminals think they could do as they please. So I'm just going to read out the piece from the Daily Mirror. They've been campaigning on this to their credit. Um, and this is the piece I'm going to be reading out. It's from the 10th of April, so the same date as the last report. The piece is by Lizzie Buchan, who's the deputy political editor. So I'll just read it out. Bear with me. I think the details do matter. Assaulting a shop worker is to be made a specific offence as the government tries to stem a flood of retail crimes after years of blocking Labour's efforts. The maximum penalty, 6 months jail and or an unlimited fine, is the same as for any common assault, but tweaks to the Criminal Justice Bill will allow other measures. Criminal behaviour orders could ban abusive shoplifters from returning to the scene of the crime. Breach of an order is already a criminal offence and carries a 5-year maximum prison sentence. Serial offenders who assault staff or are caught shoplifting 3 times could be made to wear electronic tags. Facial recognition technology will also be extended. In a £55 million plan, vans will patrol crowded areas to scan for wanted people. Figures from the Office for National Statistics show there were 402,482 shoplifting offences in England and Wales in the 12 months to September 2023, the first time it has exceeded 400,000 since records began in 2002, so a 20-year high. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak insisted his plans to reduce crime were working, but admitted shoplifting and violence towards retail workers both continue to rise. He said, I am sending a message to those criminals, serious organised criminal gangs, repeat offenders, or opportunistic thieves who think they could get away with stealing. Yeah, they do, far too often. The British Retail Consortium has said a specific offence would make staff feel safer and ensure police allocate resources accordingly. Chief Executive Helen Dickinson said, this announcement sends a clear message that abusive behaviour will not be tolerated, and it is vital the police use this new legislation to step up their response to incidents. But Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said the idea is a repeal imitation of Labour's plans. She said Labour has been calling for tougher action against those who assault shop workers for more than 10 years. The Tories opposed and voted against our plans. The Mirror is campaigning for action to fight the crime wave. Our campaign to clamp down on shoplifting calls for police to investigate all incidents and a reversal of Tory laws that downgraded the theft of goods worth less than £200, which is a disgrace. We are also calling for more PCSOs in action on both the cost of living crisis and mental health. Labour is vowing to revitalise high streets by tackling antisocial behaviour, axing business rates and rolling out banking hubs. In Tees Valley today, Deputy Leader Angela Rayner, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves and Ms Cooper will unveil a plan to reverse 14 years of Tory decline. It's all good, it's all welcome, but why after 14 years? I mean, it's not like this is a new problem. Um, it's just typical of this government and this country because the last government wasn't much better. The action happens only long after the fact, like long after something's been ongoing. This should be just something that was legislated years ago. It doesn't make sense that when there's a specific problem, it just gets kind of pushed aside, and it takes, the campaign of a national paper, and I give the Daily Mirror credit for this, to highlight it. If the Daily Mirror wasn't highlighting this, would Sunak have, really pushed it? I'm not sure. I think the Tories' record on crime has been largely a failure. There's been a few minor improvements. There's a bit more transparency and justice. Victims have a bit more of a say in parole hearings. We have televised verdicts. But really, it's nothing to shout about, the Tory record on crime. It really isn't. Um, the photograph here shows a very brave worker actually. Now that takes risk because you don't know if these people are carrying weapons. I've personally witnessed a few things. Just over a year ago, be about 2 years ago now, I was in Gateshead Town Centre, and some guys ran out of the Greggs there. Greggs is more common in the north of England than the south, but basically it's a sandwich, sausage roll, patisserie sort of cafe, for want of a better word. You can buy stuff and take it away. But I saw two guys like nicking sandwiches. Now, in the grand scheme of things, sandwiches are not, may not seem like much. But this was broad day. Like it wasn't even like they tried to sneak them under the coat. They just went in, grabbed them, and ran out again. And I was in the way, and I'll be honest, I didn't play the hero. I didn't like trip them up or something. But I did kind of look at them, and I went in and said, "Look, I saw what way they went. If that helps." And they just had a look of kind of, you know, defeatism. Like, well, the police won't do anything anyway, and that's true. So a big part of this, I think, is the police inefficiency. I think the police have been far too weak on this issue. And I think at this point, with this new legislation, the police have no excuse, nor the judges. Um, but what I find striking is maximum sentences. Yeah, what about minimum sentences? Why are we talking about the maximum penalty, 6 months jail time? Uh, that indicates that a lot of the sentencing will be less than that. So it has to be meaningful. I mean, I'm not suggesting if someone steals a sandwich, they should get 10 years in jail. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that. But this again comes into the issue of repeat offenders. And if they keep doing it and it continues to be a tap on the wrist, then yes, the sentence has to reflect that reoffending. Um, I think if shop workers, fight back, if they're assaulted and they fight back, they should have the same legal protection as homeowners. They're in their place of work. They should feel safe in their place of work. It's unacceptable that they get that sort of abuse. Um, and that's another situation I witnessed. I was in my local Iceland store, it'll be about 6 months ago now, and this guy basically nicked a bottle of wine. It was glaringly obvious. Um, his English wasn't great. I think he may be an East European, but he was saying, I not steal. I pay for this. And basically, he just had a really big attitude issue. And then he threatened the staff member who confronted him. And the guy was clearly, rattled, but keeping his professionalism as best he could in those circumstances. He just said, "Sir, are you threatening me? Are you threatening me?" And there's kind of a queue of people waiting, and this confrontation was happening at the next aisle, and I witnessed the whole thing. Now, again, I'll be honest, I didn't play the hero. I did think, should I maybe step in here and speak up for the assistant? I'm not going to lie, I wasn't hero. I didn't do anything. But after the guy kind of left of his own accord, his friend kind of brought him out. He left the wine, but he was mouthing off, and I sort of went up to the assistant and said, "Look, I witnessed all of that. If you need me to hang around for a police statement or something, I'm happy to do that. Just to corroborate what he saw, what he had to deal with." And he thanked me and said it wasn't necessary. But it's disgusting that people have to put up with that when they're trying to do their job. Thieves should understand that they don't have a green pass to do this stuff. And there's certain spots which are targets. In Leeds city centre, Kirkgate Market is supposed to be a real hotspot for this, one of the worst in the country. So it makes sense. Step up police patrols there. It's just a no-brainer. Step up police patrols, even if it's PCSOs. Just the uniform should be enough, to at least act as some sort of deterrent. I'm not saying it will completely solve the problem, but it makes total sense where you have a rise in this problem. Step up police patrols. I honestly think the police have kind of given up on this. They don't care. And, I don't accept that they say they don't have enough resources. I question, what are they prioritizing? There's far, far too much time wasted on non-crime hate incidents. So the police cannot say the resources are used up when they're wasting time on something they shouldn't be wasting time on. So frankly, the police themselves are part of this situation. The legislation has been brought in. The police have no excuse. Judges have no excuse. Um, and you get different kinds. You get the shoplifter who may be an addict and they're doing it to fuel their habit. So that's kind of an isolated thing. Then you get organized gangs, which are both a problem. But the organized gangs, I would really, really crack down on them because they're working in numbers to intimidate staff. So I would even threaten prison sentences. Yeah, 5 years maximum. Well, why maximum? No, no, I've got that wrong. Excuse me. 6 months maximum. Uh, is that enough for assault? I don't think so. I think if you assault a stranger, you should get a minimum of 2 years. Soft sentence. That's soft. Now, Labour says that they're tougher. It remains to be seen. But why a maximum of 6 months? This shows how infuriatingly out of touch the sentencing council is. You imagine someone working on a till in Tesco or a small corner shop. Some thug comes in and demands to have, a lower price on cigarettes or something, and the shopkeeper refuses, and they get punched. They could have a broken jaw. They could have, a broken eye socket. 6 months. That's disgusting. They should get a minimum of 2 years. The book should be thrown at them. Why isn't it? So this is better than nothing, but I don't think it goes far enough. Um, and criminal behaviour orders could ban abusive shoplifters from returning to the scene of the crime. I mean, I assumed that already existed. Apparently, it doesn't. This is the infuriating thing. The measures that should be just common sense don't seem to be used. Why the hell not? It's infuriating. That reflects poorly on police inefficiency, but it also reflects poorly on judges. It reflects poorly on the sentencing council. And I feel like a broken record with this stuff. But this is happening. It's out there. And it's infuriating. You could tell by my voice. I'm not even directly affected by this. I'm not a shop owner. I'm not a retail worker. But I have huge sympathy for what they have to put up with. Um, And I think that, if you assault a stranger for no reason, unless in cases of self-defense, then you should go to jail. It shouldn't be a tap on the wrist. It shouldn't be a community sentence. You should be thrown in jail. 6 months, I think, is too lenient. I think 2 years would be more like it, at least, depending on the gravity of the. If someone's punched and the injury is so bad that they're really in hospital for a long time, yeah, I think at least 2 years. 6 months maximum. So that means they'll get what, 3 months? This is what I'm talking about. Once again, the useless sentencing council isn't living in the real world. But the police themselves also have to step up. They've no excuse now. So the police need to, step up patrols where this is happening. It's welcome, but I don't think it goes far enough.